Bound by Fate and Blood by Jenna O'Malley. The Merna Annals, Book 1. Get your copy today at www.themernaannals.com. Chapter 1. Nephtyri. You cannot outrun your legacy, Nephtyri. Magdalena, are you in this dream again? She hoped to see her grandmother in shadows and flames, but loneliness reigned as a misty haze sprawling across the courtyard. Choking smoke pounded her lungs as she raced to a nearby door. Am I a visitor in this dreamscape? Or a participant? Astral magic slowed the scene down, ran it backward, or played it forward as she wished. Lacking complete mastery in the art form limited her access to higher-end spells and the accuracy with which to wield them. Lightning broke across the horizon to highlight her face. Vile slurs left her lips as her grandmother's voice broke through the mist in a cruel memory full of kindness. You cannot outrun your legacy, Nephtyri. Where are you, Magdalena? She beckoned, holding the vowels to her grandmother's name loud and long. Nobody appeared. Nobody ever answered from inside the manor looming ahead, either, no matter how many times. This nightmare played on repeat through golden and violet mist. Thunder's rolling clamor flooded her ears like a divine choir. He's here. A horse's labored neighing complained against a rough rider's demands from the lane leading to London. A massive man with hurricane-like, cobalt eyes whipped from the steed's back. He scrambled to regain his footing in the harsh dismount and bellowed an indecipherable alarm. "Good sir, can you see me this time?" He maneuvered across the courtyard and around her, yet again, as he did not hear nor see her. "I detest being ignored," she huffed and chased him. He couldn't enter the door, so he bolted for the side entrance with a pivoting step she didn't foresee. She feared his bulk would plow her over in passing. Their bodies never made physical contact. Instead, he burst through her astral essence, their flesh blending and then separating between the dream and reality. She sensed his loving heart and ancient spirit buried under a disciplined exterior. His soul's luster spoke to hers as if they knew one another, yet he kept moving. Smoke and shadows engulfed her once he ran out of sight. Searing light shattered her connection to the scene as she bellowed, "What is your name?" "You cannot outrun your legacy." Her grandmother's refrain punctuated the arrival of wakefulness. Nephtyri jolted upright in bed, panting. The cold sweat showering her brow matted her side-parted hair to her skin. An ominous sensation trickled down her spine and stopped where her hair ended above her hips. An amplification of heartbeat lingered in her chest, like an ocean storm refusing to calm. England's spring chill whistled through weighted curtains battened around her drafty windows. Her Covent's gardens sweetened the breeze with a floral aroma. The damned flowers teased her awake even with magic or poultices, yet without the answers she needed. "You cannot outrun your legacy," an echo of the voice mocked on repeat. Grumbling, Nephtyri leaned against the headboard. "Magdalena, why? Why are you showing me the way now, after a century of silence and death? And what does that cryptic line mean in translation? Your riddles confound me." Harsh knocking outside of her chamber door stifled further pondering. She glared and pulled covers against her body from Modesty's embrace. Whoever dared bother the vampire elder in exile during what little time she rested had better bring important news. Otherwise, she'd blast them with her ire for a fortnight. Yes, an older male with gray, short-cropped head and facial hair peered around the corner. "Shifera, I apologize for waking you. We learned something of interest." "Come in, Shimon." She waved the coven sage inside, but kept her hand open for the folded letter he presented. "Is that from London Harbor?" He cast a spell against eavesdropping and intrusion before answering, "Yes. We swapped messages with the lusty strumpet this morning. The quieter of your familiars asks you to forgive the bite marks." But hunters bore the letter. Harume should stop apologizing. Shifting into her domesticated form to escape unnoticed is her best option. On its way to the gilded governess, Sinclair, was it? Nephtyri flipped the letter open to admire the seal's design, a hammer backed by a rose. Impatience won the once priestess, now princess, over, so her fingers annihilated the wax. Shimon replied, "I believe 'tis meant for Anakarina the daughter. The sender signed it as Baron Sinclair and not as a hunter of immortals should. Have you been dreamscaping all day? You sound quite flustered. Yes, and now I comprehend why the astral realm will not allow me to rest within its tunnels through time and memory. Is he the one in your dream? The one on the horse? She didn't hide her distaste for irony. Fate weaves a web as she pleases, and her daughters sew a cloth I cannot see through. The Baron writes about a 6-month delay in his return from some island. He mentions nothing of the hunters his mother keeps at their manor. Could he be unaware of what goes on at home when he was at sea? We're missing something out of context, so perhaps he does as well, Shimon added. You're dancing, old friend. I'm not able to follow you in conversation and thought like my grandmother did. To the point, please, Nephtyri asked. He could be a pawn. A distraction without knowing it. Nephtyri smiled. Shimon, that's an angle we didn't consider. It could explain why his father, Silas the Slayer, was murdered a decade ago. He laughed. Why would they wait so long to train his son as gilded governor, then? Especially when the Slayer was to be Imperial Lord Hunter before his death. She said imbeciles would ignore the guild in action to replace him for that reason. The Slayer's wife could have trained their firstborn son from the age of 10 to reign, not when Silas died 4 years later, and never as late as adulthood. How old do you think Baron Sinclair to be now? He answered, 24 at least. You've never met him or seen him, have you? He looks nothing like the rest of them, except he has his father's eyes. Those cobalt, Sinclair blue eyes spelled death and rebirth for too many Merna, Nephtyri thought as she cleared her throat of the thought's emotion and declared, They're moving against us under someone else's command, not his, and I want to strike sooner, not later. What have you heard from our noble and royal friends as to what fares with King Charles II's tantrums? Shimon hesitated for a moment before replying, His membership in the Hunters Guild has been confirmed. Borrowing more time in English exile, therefore, is unwise. Should I contact Uran Shife Rochelle, you can't expect her to do anything without scrupulous votes to sway her decisions. That's our law. He stood his ground, designed by your grandmother in a time when it was needed. Perhaps we should consider reaching out to other elders of the Arsinoe Forest Alliance to break the chain of command. You could appeal for a gathering with danger increasing against us. Nephtyri whispered, I fear you trust me too much. The letter distracts and provokes you. Why is it confounding, Shifera? She ran a finger over the Baron Sinclair signature. He writes against the gilded governess as if he does not know her power's reach. Shimon mused, You know the guild's revolting nature. Money changes hands from dirty deeds, and arranged marriages strengthen leadership. Emotions and relationships are frivolities only for the likeness of us peasants and immortals. All to eliminate us who are not them. She quoted with him in unison. Of all the tirades she could have ignited, this one was her least favorite. Most humans refuse to understand or accept simple differences. Look at how they treat their own species. Are you listening to me, child? Exasperation bled from him. Her tone darkened into flat seriousness. I've heard the words for a long time. Humans will have to set aside their anger and misunderstanding one day. We might not ever witness it in our existence, but we must believe that there is a way. Why are you looking at me like that? Your grandmother would be proud of you, Shifera. These dreamscapes will make sense sooner than you think. Trust yourself in the astral plane. It rarely steers you wrong. Thank you. Don't dwell on the past. It won't set us free. Alert me when you'd like to depart for the mainland. When the door closed with his departure, her fingers flicked a protective spell into place to confirm perfect privacy. Truths she avoided for too long seeped through her. Time escaped the Arsinoe Forest Alliance through a sieve, and she drowned in political exile. Threats mounted against her people, and they didn't trust her to save them. She looked at the letter in her lap. If he returns to England this summer, then the end of this war will come. But why? Why do I dream of him too? We're complete strangers. His father tried to kill me. Is he the legacy I cannot outrun?